All right, welcome to NFL Outdated Cover 2 series. This episode is on the Green Bay Packers with Dale from Avg Cheese. How's it going?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on tonight.
Yeah, and this is really a perfect week with the Packers game on Sunday. How are you feeling about the game?
I'm a little nervous, to be honest. I was hoping it'd be Andy Dalton at quarterback. When Justin Fields has been anointed the chosen one now. He scares me. I think he's got a ton of talent. And when he was drafted by the Bears, I was like, this is the absolute right move. I think he's going to be a great quarterback. So
yeah, and it's really the jury's been out so far. He's only had a few chances. There's a big learning curve. He's got a lot to really prove so far, and he's passed the eye test on a few plays, but obviously he's not at that level of Aaron Rodgers. That really he's been a thorn in the side of the Bears for so long. I'm not sure if how much Wisconsin sports radio you listen to, but I was just listening to the interview with Rodgers today, and he was asked the question how about if he could name I think it was 16 Bears quarterbacks that he has faced, and then his response was, including the playoffs.
And he probably can name them all, right? Because Aaron Rodgers is that dang smart.
Yeah, and so this is the funny part. So he said he could, and then they asked if he could, so he started and he got 4, and then he basically said he got disinterested, and he said, I've got another meeting to go to. That's about as far as I could go.
Okay.
So you think about it, just how great he is, and he's got that photographic memory. He just didn't care to really go into it. It's just so inconsequential to him. That's kind of how the Bears, from my perspective, that's how the Bears have been to him. Do you kind of see it that way?
Yeah, a little bit. The Bears haven't won a decade against the Packers since the 80s, right? Through the Favre era, through the Rodgers era. I don't want to say that it's not a rivalry, but it hasn't been recently. It just hasn't been. And maybe that's it. I don't want to call the Bears irrelevant because I'm not trying to be that guy and start beating up on them.
Yeah.
But in order for it to be a better rivalry, the Bears need to get better. And Aaron Rodgers doesn't care who's playing quarterback, one, because he's not playing against that guy.
True.
He's more worried about Khalil Mack and the guys that came before him than he is about the quarterback. But I also think it is, if the Packers keep winning over and over again, it becomes, I don't want to call it less important, but it's not the rivalry it used to be.
Yeah, and I heard something on the radio today that prior to Brett Favre, the Bears had a huge advantage, maybe 40 games or something like that.
Yeah.
And since it just completely flipped, and now I believe the Packers have something like a 101 to 95 6 advantage, and it's just,
that's correct.
As a Bears fan, at the beginning of the season, I looked at these two games and I said with the Packers, I just said, those I penciled them in, or actually put them in marker as losses.
Right? No pencil?
No pencil on those.
Sharpie marker.
Right. Because when you have Aaron Rodgers, it's really tough to bet against him. And what is he really meant to the franchise like right now? And how has that kind of gone back and forth even through this offseason?
Well, yes, as a Packer fan, this offseason was excruciatingly painful. It gave us a lot of stuff to talk about on the podcast.
Oh, absolutely.
But it was also like, what are we doing here? Like, this happened, 17 years ago with Brett Favre. We're doing the exact same thing again with Aaron Rodgers. And I actually went back and listened to one of our other podcasts where I said that they treated Favre wrong, but I've been on the Packers side for Rodgers, which is kind of hypocrisy, to be honest. Yeah. Because they're doing the exact same thing. He means everything to the franchise. He's right when he says that guys come to play with him. Devondre Campbell, whoever, the guys that they pull up from wherever they get them from. Randall Cobb would never have come back for Jordan Love. That's a bad example, but it is an example where it's Aaron Rodgers. He is the franchise. he means everything to it. You put Jordan Love in the game on Sunday and he starts, and now you think it's a Bears win.
Absolutely. And for me as a football fan, it's hard not to like Aaron Rodgers, especially now. I mean, as a Bears fan, yeah, I was enjoying the offseason, right?
I bet you were.
You know, but I like him now. He just uh, he's able to share his mind, and he's right on these things. You know how talented he is. Is he a little bit too laid back now, though?
If we start losing games, that will be the narrative that he's all of a sudden doesn't care. And when we got smashed by the Saints in week 1, that's what Packer fans everywhere were saying. Oh, he didn't care. He didn't care about the game. In fact, my co-host thought he was high or hungover in that game. The long hair, you're looking like a hippie, like all these things there has to be some kind of narrative when you're losing. When you're winning, no one cares. You can do whatever you want. You can shave your head bald. You can grow it as long as you want. Winning changes everything for perception.
Well, yeah, and that's why I think people in Chicago really dislike Jay Cutler. He had that same kind of, personality, but they weren't winning. I mean, they were winning, but just not against the Packers and not when it mattered.
And they would always cut to Jay Cutler. He'd throw an interception and right to his face. Like, what do you think he's going to look like?
Exactly. I don't know if you heard one of the reasons why Aaron Rodgers had the long hair. Had you heard that yet? Oh, did we lose you?
No, I'm still here. I'm sorry. No, that was really strange. Both of our cameras went black for me.
It did
for a minute.
Did you hear why Aaron Rodgers had his hair has grown his hair out?
Yeah, some Halloween costume.
Yeah, and so I did that Twitter poll to see what it was, because it'll be interesting to see exactly what it is that someone that's a hero of his and whatnot. But for me,
what was the poll? Who's the poll winner? What did they think it was going to be?
The poll winner was Keanu Reeves. So
okay,
we'll see.
That could be it, right?
Yeah,
that could be.
So it's hard not to kind of look at him and just see the talent, right? And I like the way he's playing. I don't know if I see him in a Packer uniform next year. What are you seeing now? I mean, he's changed his tune a little bit on management, right?
Yes, he has. In fact, he praised management on the Davante Campbell signing recently. And let's see what Jalen Smith does too. They just pulled him off the crap heap too, So I think part of it was he just felt disrespected, and whether that's warranted or not is up for debate, right? I really think it comes down to, if the Packers win a Super Bowl, you'll see Aaron Rodgers in a Packers jersey. I don't know how you can part ways and have that make sense, but you have another devastating loss in the NFC Championship game, and it makes it a whole lot easier to walk out the door. Like, this is the cap. This is the ceiling that we're at, 3 in a row, or if they bow out earlier in the playoffs. I think that is going to determine whether Aaron Rodgers is a Packer next year or not.
Is there any chance that he retires?
No.
Really?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think that he sees Brady at 44 having success. And I think Aaron Rodgers we all know he's a super competitive dude. And I think his competition in life, while he wants to win every game, I'm not saying that he doesn't care about winning, is to be better than Tom Brady. I think that motivates him. I don't know why I think that, but I think he looks at Brady. Brady's being, at 44, still doing it. Aaron Rodgers is a better thrower of the football than Tom Brady, and I think he's physically more gifted than Tom Brady. And I think he has to know that too. So with that being said, why shouldn't Aaron Rodgers play until he's 44? But I don't think the Packers will keep him until he's that old.
Is this the coaching staff to kind of keep him going or keep him there, or are they kind of looking to eventually? Obviously, they've got Jordan Love there. I mean, yeah. How long do they want to keep him?
I think that if you ask management versus coaching staff, I think those are two different answers. Okay. I think that, in my opinion, I think Gutekunst drafted this guy, and while he's been good at letting guys go, Kamal Martin, 5th round draft pick, gone. You know, he didn't hold on to a guy that couldn't play. So I think LaFleur understands that you are coaching one of the best quarterbacks of all time. It would be stupid as a head coach to say, let's try this dude that's never thrown an NFL pass before and let me put my career on Jordan Love's back. Like, that's absolute stupidity, right? Like, you don't know what you're getting. Could Jordan Love be great? Yeah. But you know how it is. Most first-round quarterbacks, they suck. They don't end up being anything. So you know what you have in Aaron Rodgers. I think LaFleur understands that. He's a smart guy. I also think that Aaron Rodgers wants to play for LaFleur because of his creativity offensively compared to what he had with Mike McCarthy. I think he's also stupid to leave unless there's another offensive mind he wants to play with.
That's a really good point. You know, so this really is like, that's a good pairing between LaFleur and Rodgers then.
I think so.
Yeah. And on the other side of the ball, obviously, with Joe Brady, Joe Brady, he's brought in to be a coordinator. Has he really kind of done his job? I mean, is that kind of, I've heard a lot about, negatives about him. Is that a good pairing there?
Well, Joe Barry has never been very successful as a DC, right? He's been a linebacker coach, but he was the DC with Detroit and Washington. And those aren't world beater defenses. That being said, after the first week, everybody was like, this is, including me, this is Mike Pettin 2.0. This is exactly what we saw last year. It's the same thing. 3rd and 2, and we got corners playing 10 yards off the ball. Like, it was exactly what we had seen last year. Now, that being said, if you look at what the Packers have done on defense, minus Devondre Campbell, they didn't add anybody. It's the same defense. It's the same guys that we thought were bad last year, or good, some of them. But like, we beat up on Tyler Lancaster and Dean Lowry, 2 Northwestern guys, every week. It is that's how we cuss. They are the reason we cuss so much on our show, is those 2 guys. But you can't beat up on Joe Barry for guys that can't play. I mean, we have, Ty Summers, who's not starting, but was getting pretty big snaps, 7th round pick. Warren Burks was a bust the entire time. He's getting more snaps this year than he got in his entire career before this. Like, those guys aren't good players. So to ask Joe Barry to all of a sudden make magic with mediocre talent, can you blame him? I don't. I don't blame Joe Barry at all.
So where does the blame go? Obviously, Gutekunst, or yeah.
If you don't draft, now we drafted defensive guys, right? Alexander, King. You could go back. There's a long list. We didn't draft before Jordan Love. We didn't draft an offensive player for the last 10 years in the first round.
Yeah.
So if you're drafting guys 5th, 6th round, Kenny Clark was a draft pick too. But you know what I mean? Like, we've done a lot of drafting, but we haven't really hit the nail on the head, so to speak, with guys. Do I think they nailed it with Devondre Campbell? Yes, absolutely. And Jalen Smith, while he's not spectacular and wasn't spectacular in Dallas, he's a huge upgrade to the guys we have. He's better than Summers and Burks right now, regardless of how good he is.
It was interesting, yeah, because Dallas here said he lost a step, and so that'll be interesting to see how he comes in. Eric Stokes has been pretty good as well, or?
Absolutely. And we love the pick. I really thought we were going to go defensive line in the first round. Christian Barmore was around in the first round. The Packers picked. Levi Onwuzurike, who's in Detroit now, was also on the board when the Packers selected Stokes. It's a passing league, but if you can't stop the run, you got problems. So I thought we were going to go defensive back. We weren't totally disappointed. At least I wasn't, in Eric Stokes. I think he's going to be a really good player. Now that I've watched him play, while he doesn't have ball skills that I'd like, I mean, he did have a pick, but I don't think he has the ball skills I'd like, but he can close on guys, and he seemed to have already figured it out. And I don't think, because he's played in the SEC, that the talent level is too big for him. So I think he's going to be a heck of a player. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, when you talk about the run defense, that's been kind of an Achilles heel, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, I when I go to fantasy, I look at matchups. I tend to go with any running back that's against the
Against the
Packers.
Packers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and not because I'm a Bears fan, but I just I want to win fantasy, and I just
Right.
you know
It usually
um,
works out to your favor if you go that way.
and I was just kind of looking at things and hearing on Chicago radio. I don't know if the Packers have they really given up many big plays though.
They have not. And I don't know if that's a Joe Barry thing because he does play
Mhm.
more of a zone, which is going to help you in the run game, right? Because you don't have your back and you're not running down the field after guys.
Mhm.
So you can, you at least can see run plays happen. So I don't know what that is because, again, the talent level isn't upgraded. The guy they drafted the 5th round, TJ Slayton, has played, 10 snaps a game at most. So he's not been an upgrade. So it's the same guys. So
Mhm.
you have to attribute that to scheme, I think. And Devondre Campbell, who I will talk about ad nauseum if you let me, because I just am so excited that we
Yeah.
actually have a linebacker that can play. Linebacker that can play.
And where's he out of again?
I don't know where he played college ball, but the Packers are his 3rd team.
Okay. Yeah.
He's in his 4th year. He was with Arizona. Aaron Rodgers said it in his press conference. How is this guy on the street? The Packers are paying him $2 million. Between
Right.
him and Jalen Smith, they are under $3 million for 2 guys who are a significant upgrade. So I think our defense is going to get better really quick.
It is so interesting. Some of the people in the front office that have these jobs of talent evaluation, and you just how people are on the street, and even kind of obviously off the Packers, but you talk about right now the Baltimore Ravens. How they get all of these running backs and off the scrap heap,
Yeah.
and they're starting to do well because I don't, scheme with Lamar Jackson, and now other teams are wanting to trade for them where they could have gotten them off the scrap heap earlier. It's just
Yeah.
so interesting how that works. And I mean, do you kind of trust the Packers front office to continue to rebuild this roster, or is it just kind of with the defense? It's just hard to kind of see year in year out doing the same thing over and over again.
I guess that's a two-sided coin because I do trust the Packers brain trust to get guys that can play, but drafting is a crapshoot, right? It really
Yeah.
is. And especially during the COVID times, like trying to draft guys with no tape and no game action, that's a really difficult thing to do. But again, so as I trust them and I say I trust them, I sit here saying that, I also can say we've missed on a lot of guys. A lot of guys. Like we keep waiting for Kingsley Keke to do something, you know.
Right.
But then they pick Chris Barnes off the shit heap. Sorry,
No, good. Yeah.
off the junk heap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Chris Barnes was one of the best rookie acquisitions last year, and he was undrafted. So they seem to hit in certain places, but they also miss. It's very 50-50.
Now, one position that they just haven't even attempted, it seems like, in the draft is the wide receivers. I mean, we have Davante Smith or Davante Adams,
Right.
and somehow Aaron Rodgers has made Randall Cobb relevant again.
Right.
And after Davante Adams and obviously now Randall Cobb, who else? I mean, we've had different wide receivers kind of be hailed as that next player. Who's the next one to kind of look for?
I was big into the Amari Rodgers 3rd round draft pick. I thought he was going to be great. I thought this is a Packer guy. He's already, again, played in the SEC, played big football games. But I've watched him. I watched him in the preseason, and now I am less confident in him. I don't think he has enough speed to get away from guys, and that makes me nervous. I think he was a 4 or 5 guy, and you think, well, he's in the slot, so he doesn't have to be a burner. But I don't think his feet are all that nifty either. Marquez Valdez-Scantling can run in a straight line, and that's about it. Alan Lazard is a great blocker, but he's just a big guy. You know what I mean? He's just a guy.
Right. Yeah.
There is no one after Davante Adams that any team should be afraid of. No one. And I don't know where I don't know where that guy is coming from.
Yeah, and Davante Adams, obviously he is, this is his contract year, right?
Yeah.
So
they're talking contract, and I know they put that on the back burner, but this is his year.
I did hear on the radio that he is he's not his game has never been based on speed, right?
No.
But he is he's like another Davante that I really enjoyed. That's a rookie now, Davante Smith, and just the ability to get open. And you talked about that with Amari Rodgers. How if he's not able to get open, I mean that's a huge part of the NFL game, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. I don't think there's a receiver in all of football that has better feet than Davante Adams. Because, right, he's not going to run by guys. He's not that 4-2, 4-3 blazer. But you watch him at the line of scrimmage, and it's unbelievable to watch. Guys, he just they look like high school players out there sometimes. He does a couple things, and they kind of just stand there like, what just happened? And then they're chasing him, even though he's not running away from them that fast. So his footwork is what separates him from the rest of the league. You look at DeAndre Hopkins and guys like that, the greats, quote unquote, in the NFL. I don't think anybody has Davante Adams' feet.
Did Aaron Rodgers really kind of push him to that? Because I remember early on, it was kind of like he was challenging him, wasn't he?
Yeah. I think that, and you can say that about every wide receiver that's ever played for Aaron Rodgers, that they are better because they played for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Davante Adams will still be a great player when he leaves Green Bay, a very good player. He's on the backside of his career, but he's still going to be a very good player no matter who's throwing him the football. But I think that he was challenged by Aaron Rodgers early. I remember a game I was at, they played the Cardinals, and I was in Arizona. I watched the ball go directly through Davante Adams' hands. Like it was the perfect, like his hands were open and went right through. And I said, you need to cut him now, which really in retrospect was one of the dumber things I've ever said. But yes, he's amazing. And has Aaron Rodgers made him better? Yeah, for sure.
So is he with the Packers, do you think? They have to get something done, don't they?
I don't think they do. I think that I love Davante Adams, and I will fanboy him wherever he goes to. But the Packers cannot afford to pay him what he deserves. I mean, he's in DeAndre Hopkins' air talent-wise, but he's going to be in that pay range too. And can you pay a 30-year-old Davante Adams $25 million a year and get the other guys you need? Because Elton Jenkins is about to come up on a contract year too. Jair Alexander is going to be in a contract year after next year, I believe. Do you put that much money in Davante Adams? As much as I'd like to say yes, I don't think you can, unless Rodgers takes a Brady-like pay hit.
I was going to say, yeah. Does it make a difference whether or not Rodgers is there or not?
100%. If Rodgers leaves, Davante Adams will walk right out the door too.
Yeah. I know that I don't know if they were tweeting about it, but the one last ride or the last dance kind of thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, as a Chicago sports fan, it was interesting to see.
You're like, see ya guys.
Yeah.
Enjoy your next spot.
Well, tell me a little bit about Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. Obviously, Aaron Jones has that superstar potential. He's flashed it in previous years and already this year as well. I mean, is he's signed now? Is he kind of the guy?
He is the guy. AJ Dillon is 1A. It's very similar to the running back room when they had Jamal Williams last year as 1A. I don't want to call AJ Dillon 2, although he is more of a 2 than Jamal Williams was. I thought Jamal Williams got more carries, was in there in more significant moments than AJ Dillon is at this point. Mm-hmm. Aaron Jones is a dynamic guy. He's going to catch balls out of the backfield. I think what we're seeing, though, from AJ Dillon, it's funny. I talked about this on our podcast. AJ Dillon caught a ball last week. LaFleur thought Aaron Jones was in the game. So really? It was a pass not supposed to be for AJ Dillon, but he made a nice catch, tiptoed down the sideline, got about 15, 16 yards. And I think that's the reason that AJ Dillon caught a ball in this game and is being more active in the passing game, because all of a sudden LaFleur's like, oh, yes, this guy is big and he's got huge legs and he's that hammer that we want to, smash the rock right up the middle. Mm-hmm. But I think he's more versatile than the Packers expected him to be. He's a better pass catcher than I think anyone thought he was.
So is he going to be there long-term as well, or?
Hard to say, right? Because we just drafted Kylan Hill, which was the absolute best pick in the draft. It was a huge steal in the 7th round. I think he's a very dynamic player. I think AJ Dillon will play out his rookie contract, and then it's going to be who knows, because you can't, as you know, you can't pay a bunch of guys at any position, especially running back, because they fall apart really quickly.
Yeah.
So you put all your money in Aaron Jones, the basket of Aaron Jones. Can you pay AJ Dillon what he's going to deserve if he keeps doing things? I don't know. I think they got another guy in wait with Kylan Hill.
Yeah, and what makes Kylan Hill so good?
He is very Aaron Jones-like.
Okay.
So if you're looking for AJ Dillon, like that dichotomy, that difference in running back, you won't get that with Hill and Jones. They're very similar guys. So I don't know if the Packers want to hammer, but Jamal Williams wasn't a hammer back either. So I think that Kylan Hill is a dynamic guy, and I think he's going to prove over time that maybe he's the replacement for Aaron Jones rather than AJ Dillon.
And does he kind of fit better in LaFleur's offense then?
Well, I think he did until he found out that AJ Dillon could actually catch the football.
Yeah.
So now I don't know. I mean, you've got Kylan Hill on a stupid cheap contract, right? As a 7th round pick.
Right.
So you can play games with him, keep him on the roster. He's not costing you anything at all until you see what AJ Dillon can do. And then, who knows, 2 or 3 years down the road, or probably 2, I think it's 2 years when AJ Dillon's rookie contract will come up. And then we'll see. That's a good problem to have, right? It's a good problem to have guys that can play coming up behind guys that are already playing.
Well, speaking of that, and someone that's kind of been shrouded in mystery from last year and even this year, I mean, what do we expect, or what do you expect from Jordan Love?
Boy, that's a tough question, because no preseason last year for Jordan Love to play. They only had 3 preseason games this year. Jordan Love got hurt, only played in 2 of them. It's really difficult. And what we as Packer fans have done to Jordan Love is unfair. Right. We are comparing Jordan Love to 2020 Aaron Rodgers and not to 2006 Aaron Rodgers. Because if you go back and watch Aaron Rodgers' tape from the preseason in 2006, he was terrible. He was very Jordan Love-like in the things that he was doing, throwing the ball to guys that he shouldn't, and just trying to throw off his back foot into coverage. That's what you saw from Jordan Love in the preseason. I can't make an accurate judgment or assessment on Jordan Love yet. Is he the back-to-back-to-back Hall of Famer, Favre to Rodgers to Love Hall of Famer? I don't know. I don't think so. He's got a great arm. Will he fix the decision-making stuff? I don't know. The fact that he didn't play a lot of college ball, and when he did, he was playing against, the Fresno States and the Boise's of the world. I want to say yes, but logically you can't say for sure what he's going to be.
And have you caught a lot of his interviews? Does he kind of have, that, a good way?
I think he has it. I think he has that it factor. And I think that he has the mentality to be a very good NFL quarterback, but you got to put that on the field and show it. You can look the part and, you can throw the ball through a brick wall, but if you can't make the plays when guys are running in your face, we'll see, I guess, for him.
Well, that was the thing with, Trubisky. He had the 1 year and he was drafted high. He just didn't seem, so I went to the Bears training camp in 2019. Fantastic guy, signed autographs for kids the longest, but he just didn't seem to have it. And he had flashes, but he just didn't seem to, he was bothered, and people, I mean, these guys can be great guys, but it takes a lot to be an NFL quarterback.
Right. And to be fair to Mitch Trubisky, the situation he was put into was just unfair. He didn't have the talent level. That's not his fault that he was drafted where he was. Did he deserve to be drafted that early? No, he didn't. So then there's these huge expectations on Mitchell Trubisky that shouldn't be there. If you draft him in the 3rd or 4th round, you think, oh, he wasn't bad. He wasn't great, but he wasn't bad.
And that'll be interesting to see eventually. I mean, we're thinking that Jordan Love will be the quarterback, and
I don't know that.
Oh, you don't know that? Okay.
I don't think so. When he was drafted, I said we may have just wasted a first-round pick on a guy who never plays a snap. Now, he did play in the New Orleans game, so he's played at least one NFL snap. But meaningful snaps, I'm not sure, because what do you do with Aaron Rodgers? You know, if he keeps winning, you can't, as the GM, Gutekunst cannot let Aaron Rodgers go if they win a Super Bowl. So then you're into the next year of Jordan Love's development. And then you're into the next year. And at some point, what do you do with Jordan Love? You might just have to let him go, because if Aaron Rodgers keeps winning and keeps throwing 40, 45 touchdowns every year, you just have to say goodbye to Jordan Love.
Did Gutekunst really kind of just learn his lesson? I mean, it seemed like he really was trying to exert influence, and then
fingers crossed, because I mean, you didn't know. If you look back, I mean, as a Bears fan, you're like, yeah, Aaron Rodgers is on the decline, right? I mean, he had those two really kind of okay, subpar, threw like 25, 26 touchdowns. He didn't throw picks, so that's not a thing for him, but he wasn't great. So you can sort of start to think, okay, this man is on the decline. We need to draft his replacement. When you look at like Pittsburgh, they should have drafted Roethlisberger's replacement maybe 2 years ago now, because he looked terrible.
Yes.
So you don't know when the drop-off is going to come. So did he learn his lesson? I hope he did, but you don't get Aaron Rodgers on your team very often. So
no,
I don't know.
And it's so interesting how the ups and the downs of the season, right? With Rodgers, he's looked amazing, and then some. I mean, you have the stinker versus the Bengals. I mean, what was that like? So as a Bears fan, I have to say, I was looking at the game before that game. I said, well, this Packers, it's going to be a loss. But now with how the Bears defense is playing and how Rodgers did against the Bengals, it's a winnable game. What do you think?
It depends on what defense comes for the Bears. They have a really good defense, and they have had historically, right? It's been the quarterback play and other things. I think the Packers are going to win this game. I do. I don't think it will be. I think they need to keep Aaron Rodgers clean. I literally just said this on our podcast like an hour ago. If they don't keep Rodgers clean, then you've got a problem. Because I don't think the run game, well, usually you'd say, you got to run the ball, but I don't think so. In this game, I think if you keep Aaron Rodgers clean, this is a win for the Packers. But if the pressure starts to get there, if Hicks can get to the quarterback, and really it's those inside guys that scare me more than the outside, because the Packers have done pretty well. I don't know if you know Yosh Nijman. Yosh Nijman is a nobody left tackle playing because Jenkins and Bakhtiari are out. He's played very well. But Myers was out. The rookie center was out last week. They moved Patrick to center. They have a Royce Newman on the right side at right guard. He's a rookie, 4th rounder. They got John Runyon, who started his first game this year. He was a rookie last year. So the inside of the Packers line is very suspect.
Very, very green, so to speak.
Very green. And if Myers comes back, he's still a rookie center. So, they've got 2 rookies and a second-year guy on the interior of their line. So that scares me every week, no matter who we're playing.
So I'd say, I mean, I said that all before, and yeah, you kind of that probably is a key, keeping Aaron Rodgers upright. I think this can be a trap game for the Bears because it's Aaron Rodgers, right? Like, I think and I don't know what it is. He just seems to get up even more for the Bears games and just kind of have that, twinkle in his eye and say, yep, just relax. Right. And what does he kind of do in the pocket to kind of keep himself upright? I mean, you got that offensive line, but he does a lot of things as well that really kind of helps with that.
Absolutely. Aaron Rodgers isn't going to run for 100 yards. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's not going to get out of the pocket and take off. But the one thing I think you see with Aaron Rodgers is he's always looking downfield. He's able to maneuver in the pocket. He feels the pocket very well, and he's looking for that second, third guy. And I beat up on Randall Cobb in the signing. I thought he was washed up, but I think he has a good synergy with Davante Adams and Randall Cobb. When things break down, those guys know where they're going to be, and Rodgers knows where they're going to be on those plays. And I think that's what Aaron Rodgers does well, is he's able to throw a very accurate ball with a guy in his grill almost all the time.
Yeah, and he makes those plays to who's ever out there. I mean, Lazard. I mean,
Mhm.
he makes them better. He's even made Robert Tanyan not only relevant but almost a star. You know,
Right.
now Tanyan hasn't done a lot this year.
He hasn't done jack. Right.
Right, right. And so obviously, you know, that a lot of that's on Rodgers and what he
Mhm.
can do. And
Right.
what do you see with Rodgers? What do you see this season um, ending out to be? Like, how far can they go?
Stats. Oh, team wise,
Yeah,
I do believe that if the Packers can be more balanced, and I don't mean run pass balance, I mean spread the ball around to other guys. If we can figure that out and not be so reliant on Davante Adams all the time, I really think that the Packers can get to a Super Bowl and win it. I think that our defense is better
hmm
enough. You know, we've been in 2 NFC championships in a row with really bad defenses. And if they could
right.
even be average, which I think they're 12th in the league right now, which is probably higher than it should be, but if they can be from middle up, that's a huge improvement. And I think Aaron Rodgers can take them to a Super Bowl. I think that this whole thing with Randall Cobb, this whole last dance thing, I think that they really believe that they have the talent level. And with Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, you always have a chance to do great things. So I think they're going to win a Super Bowl. I know, hey, Packer fan believes they're going to win a Super Bowl. Shocking, right? But
Well,
I think
no,
it's honestly, I think they can do it.
yeah, and if you have Rodgers, you always have that chance. And like you said, you know, the defense has been better, and that can be a key. You see the path in the NFC, and I talked to my co-host is a Vikings fan,
Okay.
and you know, he's always harping on the Vikings, and the path always goes through Green Bay when you have Aaron Rodgers,
Right.
and so that means they're going to be in the playoffs. Now it'll depend if they get a higher, you know, no, there's only one seed this year that gets a bye, I believe.
I think you're right about that.
And so would it matter in the playoffs if they have the home field or not? Or
Mm-mm. Not to me. I actually I know that the Packers are more balanced in the past, but we used to say I'd rather play in New Orleans on the turf than play in Green Bay in the cold. Now again, we have AJ Dillon. It's a different backfield, it's a different mindset. They are a little bit more balanced that way. But when the chips are down, Aaron Rodgers is going to throw the football. And he's going to take it onto himself to try to win games. So while I'd love to go to a home game, NFC championship, you know, in the bitter cold, I want to see him win. And I think
right.
the way to win is to play in a warm weather locale or play in a dome.
That makes sense. That makes sense. You know, especially with the way it's set up, the way, you know, Aaron Rodgers, the way he plays, and just it makes sense. And honestly, it's hard for me to admit this, but I do see them doing well this season, and that really kind of scared me. The whole thing of Aaron Rodgers coming back and just, you know, uh, almost wanting to prove I don't know, good against strong, or just kind of like you know, he has that edge to him now.
He does seem to try to find something to externally motivate him, doesn't he? When he
Yeah.
was drafted, it was like, F you to all these teams that didn't draft me. I'm going to show you that you were wrong. And now, when we drafted Jordan Love, okay, I'm going to show you how wrong you were with that. And
hmm
now, you know, I think he feeds off of that external motivation for sure. And that makes him play better.
It does. It does. Well, you talk about draft. What are some of the needs kind of going into the 2022 draft? That obviously the Packers are probably going to have to focus on wide receiver, you know, defense. What do you see?
I think it is definitely going to be wide receiver. I know we've said that for years and years and years. And when they picked Jordan Love, we were like, there are so many wide receivers on the board. That was like a very wide receiver heavy draft. We didn't do anything. I think they have to go there. I think it also depends on what do they do with Devondre Campbell and Jalen Smith. Like, can Jalen Smith play, and do they try to sign him to some kind of longer term contract? Devondre Campbell, same thing, because then that goes away. The interior defensive line, I've said forever that they don't find someone to play next to Kenny Clark, Kenny Clark is going to wear down. He's already been in the league, 7 years, and he's 26 years old. He's like, I mean, he is getting so many snaps. They need to find help for him. Outside linebacker too, like Zadarius Smith is probably gone after this year. Preston Smith can only play in an odd numbered year, so he's going to be terrible next year again. While I keep waiting for Rashawn Gary to do things, he just hasn't gotten over the hump. So linebacker is an issue. I would say interior line, linebacker help, and wide receiver almost in any order, as long as they come within the first 3 rounds and not like 5, 6, and 7, which is what we do with wide receivers. We just pick them up off the junk heap or pick them really, really late and expect them to be great. So I think those are the 3 biggest needs. And I'd say if I'm in order, if I'm the GM, it's interior defensive line, linebacker, wide receiver. Because if Aaron Rodgers is still playing, he's going to make that mediocre to good wide receiver look better than he is. So,
well, and also help him develop quicker as well.
100%.
Because I mean, you see some of these wide receivers with rookie quarterbacks, and it's just
they regress. They don't get better.
They don't. Yeah, Allen Robinson has struggled, and it just happens.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right, for sure.
Well, I could talk, all night about football and even the Packers. I don't mind.
You can talk about your Bears. It's your podcast. I will talk about whatever you'd like.
Oh no, I get too depressed. So, what do you think of the score is going to be this Sunday?
I think it's going to be 27-17 Packers. I think that JF1 will throw a pick, or he'll get sacked and fumble. Like with the Bears offensive line, he doesn't have a chance back there half the time. And I think the Packers will create some turnovers, but I think the Bears defense will keep them close. Because I think that up the middle, even though Mack and Akeem Hicks are going to be on the outside, I think there's going to be pressure the entire game. It's not going to be a blowout. The Packers don't seem to be able to step on anybody's neck anyway. They always kind of let teams get back into it. And this is not a bad Bears team. It's a bad offensive line, but it's not a bad Bears team.
Yeah, I would agree. I just wasn't sure what to think about the team, but I knew that the defense would kind of keep them in games, and I agree. That seems to be about right from a score, 27-17. I don't really see the Bears scoring too many points, over 20, if that. 17 seems about right. As a Bears fan, I am okay with that. I don't want to say I'm okay with losing Green Bay, but I'm okay with just seeing the development, because it really makes a difference to have that, quarterback be developed. And because really, even this offseason, when a lot of my friends in the area that were Packers fans that were saying, "Oh, I hate Aaron Rodgers. He's such a diva, all this." And I said, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Jordan Love may or may not be good, but regardless, I think, as you said, they're not going to be good with him right away.
Right. If Aaron Rodgers leaves the Packers, the NFC North is up for grabs immediately.
Absolutely.
Because if you look, in my opinion, if he leaves and Justin Fields can move forward just a little bit in this rookie season, I think the Bears might be front runners. I don't know. The Vikings never seem to do. They have talent and they never seem to do anything with it. The Lions are just the Lions. If Rodgers leaves, I think the Bears would be front runners in the division for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you really, you look at the Vikings, and Kirk Cousins is almost having an MVP like year, and still their defense is messing up for them. They're and usually it's the kicker that's messing up for them. And
it's always something.
Yeah. And I guess there was one thing I forgot to ask you about. How much, do you trust Mason Crosby, and how much longer do you see him being a Packer?
In 2012, I think it was, he missed like 12 kicks that year. And I was right on the front lines calling for him to be cut immediately.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he got better, because kickers, once they go south, they really struggle to turn it around. Right. And to Mason Crosby's credit, I don't know if he goes to church or whatever, but he changed, he turned himself around. He became great. But how can you be confident as a Packer fan right now? Like next week, I'm not confident. Now, in Mason, we trust? Not right now. I don't trust. I have trust issues with Mason Crosby for sure. He's 37 years old, and he's been, if you look over his entire career, he's been pretty consistent around the 80% field goal. Even with that really bad year where he made like 65% of his kicks, he still averaged out to around 80. Is that good enough? I don't know. If you're trying to win a Super Bowl, if you're an average team, you don't mind your average kicker.
Right.
But you can't have that guy missing a big kick. And he missed 3 very big kicks and an extra point, and then made the last one great. But it wasn't the hold. It was a Mason Crosby issue every time. So I don't know what to think.
And I texted my buddy during that game. I said, hey, what were the chances that Mason Crosby gets cut on Monday?
They did. Is it Winslow? I don't know who the practice squad guy is. I think they activate him. I don't know that. I shouldn't say these things. I should actually look it up before I start talking out of my ass. But I think that the practice, there's a practice squad guy. Mm-hmm. There's a kicker on the practice squad. That's very rare. I mean, why would you keep a kicker on the practice squad and waste the space?
Right.
I think that says something. I don't know what it says, but the Packers brass has some questions. Otherwise, they wouldn't keep him around.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, kicker is an important spot. I mean, you look at the Bears. I mean, they lost a playoff game because of and then they cut him. And to a championship team, it's so interesting. You talked about all the draft needs and whatnot as well. For you to talk about so many needs, and yet they are really a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, it is strange. Right? I mean, there's needs. This is not a complete football team.
But that really is, this is really an Aaron Rodgers love fest, I guess. But it really, as much as a Bears fan, it's hard to say, but that really is the greatness of him. And in this league, it really is the quarterback-driven league. You see, Tom Brady coming and really changing the culture of the Bucs, and Aaron Rodgers has done that, and he's really put his stamp on everything.
Absolutely. And again, I know this is an Aaron Rodgers love fest, but I feel like Justin Fields is that guy too. I feel like he has the persona and he has that whole air around him, and he's talented. I think Justin Fields is going to provide that for the Bears. If they don't get him killed in this rookie year, I think that he is that guy also. I've said it a million times, and I will continue to say it, that they made the absolute right decision. I think he might be the best quarterback in this draft class, period.
And that's saying a lot too. I mean, there's some obviously a lot of people saying, how much Zach Wilson has done well, but he doesn't have a lot going on with him offensively,
and he doesn't have the physical skills that Justin Fields has.
Yeah.
They've compared Justin Fields to Cam Newton. That's only because he's black. That's ridiculous. They are totally different players. Justin Fields is a complete quarterback. He can throw the football. I mean, he's relatively accurate, and he's going to get better than he is. As a rookie, he's going to throw the ball all over the place, but he's going to get better. I think he's a complete player.
I agree. Well, this has been awesome. I mean, honestly, I could talk all night, and I definitely appreciate you coming on. We can find you at Avg Cheese, Avg Cheese on Twitter. Absolutely. And where else? Your co-host, you can find him as well.
I run the Twitter for the Avg Cheese, so you can get a hold of both of us at Avg Cheese. We also do email avgcheese@gmail.com. I say this on our podcast all the time. We're on Facebook, but I don't get it at all. So if you're looking for us there, you'll be lost, like I am.
Twitter's more fun anyway.
Absolutely. Facebook's for old people.
Exactly. Well, yeah, this has been fun. Definitely going to be monitoring the game this week, and good luck. It'll be fun regardless.
It will. If you get some random tweet, like DM from the Avg Cheese, it's probably me talking shit, but
do it.
Maybe not.
Yeah. No, I bring it on. I can take it. So,
because at some point I'm going to have to eat it too. I know this. Like, it's not going to last forever.
Maybe in about 5 years. So
maybe less.
Thanks again. And once again, this has been NFL Outdated Cover 2 series. And thanks again, Dale from Avg Cheese.
Go Pack, go.
We'll see you later.